Hey, I'm on the road heading back from a track I looked at this morning with a couple of foresters. The reason I was with them, it's a track that we're going to have some timber cut on it. It's a large WRP track. A lot of you are familiar with WRP, but for those of you that aren't, it stands for Wetlands Reserve Program, and it's where substandard farm ground is planted back in bottomland hardwoods typically, and put back in permanent wildlife habitat. This particular tract was already a mature hardwood tract that was put in the WRP program to create a permanent wetlands, permanent wildlife habitat. And we're going to go in and cut some of the timber. And I know some people, you can't cut timber on WRP. Well, yeah, you can. It's a process, and it's a very pretty restrictive process, but it can be done, and there are times it absolutely has to be done to create the habitat that we're all wanting. This particular tract, large, mature bottomland hardwood timber, it's completely canopied out, so there's very little understory, meaning there's not much growing underneath it in a lot of spots. And so what this particular timber harvest will do is it's going to take out a lot of the big canopy to open up the ground a little bit to allow a lot more vegetation to grow, to get some sunlight and grow. And it's not just going in there cutting the best timber and leaving all the junk. I hate that. People do that. It's called high grading. It's terrible stewardship of the ground. That's not what goes on here. Our foresters are going to go in and mark a diverse cross-section of various types of sizes and species and different types, and so that at the end of the day, after they've gone in and cut this timber, there'll be a diverse stand left. And that's what the NRCS, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, who oversees the WRP programs on the state and federal level, what they want is a diverse stand. They want big trees, little trees. They want straight trees, crooked trees. They want a soft mast. They want oak. They want a lot of variety and diversity, not just for deer, not just for turkeys, but for a lot of bird species and all different types of wildlife. And so you take a tract that has gotten pretty typical, like this one is, with a lot of big mature saw timber in it, and completely canopied out the understory. That's not diverse at all. So what we're going to do is selectively paint a few hundred acres of this timber and go in there and cut it, and in doing so, it creates some capital for the landowners, but it also creates diversity on this tract, which is going to greatly enhance the wildlife. I'm looking forward to the process. I've been involved in it from the very beginning, getting the permitting done with the NRCS, meeting with the state forester, one of the state NRCS officials, getting that paperwork submitted up through the chain of command to get the permit, working with the forester to get an inventory on the tract, to get a detailed cruise by volume and by species, so that we could go in there and on this track and pick the blocks that we're going to cut, mark certain size, certain type, certain species of trees in those blocks, and then have the operator come in and cut that timber, that specifically painted marked timber, to create this diversity for the track. It'll improve the track and to put some money in the landowner's pocket. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. So you can manage timber on a ground that has easements on it, the conservation easements, WRP programs, CRP. You can manage that timber. It just has to be done in conjunction with that overseeing authority, and it's got to be done with a forester. You can't go in there and figure it out yourself, and unless you are a forester. They're going to want a detailed plan, and a certified forester will be able to give you that information, be able to generate that inventory by type and species and size. So anyway, there's some information a lot of people didn't know. If you do get involved in it, don't expect it to be a make a phone call today, be cutting timber tomorrow kind of deal. This started back in the early part of this year. It's almost November now. We're just now getting to the point of painting trees, and as soon as that's done, it'll be just a matter of working with the logging contractor to get the best time to go in there and cut it, because we're about to get into wet time of the year. So there's just a lot of moving parts in it, but you can manage these timber tracts, and if done properly, yeah, you put some money in your pocket, but a few years down the road, the track is better than it is now. And that's what I like. To see somebody go in and high grade a track, in my opinion, is criminal. Now, it's your land, you do whatever you want to with it, but I believe God made us stewards of this place, and we ought to leave it better than we found it. And the next generation of deer hunters, the next generation of people that enjoy wildlife, the next generation of landowners, give them something to manage. Leave something that's worth having. And there's a way to do that by using good sense, not being so flipping greedy that you just cut everything down that's great saw timber, and using people that know what they're doing. In my case, I've got two friends who are top-notch licensed, certified graduate foresters, and that combination of wanting to do the right thing, using good sense, and using good professionals, I think we're going to end up with a good project, and it'll be beneficial now, and the next generation, next people on this track, years from now, they'll be pleased with it as well. So anyway, have a good day.